Should you work on obtaining IT certifications? That is the topic for today's video. And the answer is, it depends. It depends on your circumstances. It depends on where you are in your IT career. And there is really no clear answer. But let's talk about it. For instance, I believe that if you're new to the field or you're trying to get possibly a government job, more than likely you do have to work on getting your IT certifications. If the job description states X certification required, there is no way around that, especially in local government. If you do not have the certification, they won't even look at your resume. You won't get past that. So with that being said, work on your IT certification in that case. If you're late in your career and the IT certification is not required in the job description, then I would say it doesn't really matter. Because ultimately, when you get to the interview and they start asking you technical questions, based on the answers you give to those questions, they will know if you know the material or not. Another thing to consider with IT certifications is, can you afford to continue paying the renewals? For instance, I believe CompTIA charges you $125 depending on which certification. I think it's $75 up to $125 every 3 years. So it's roughly, I can't even do the math in my head right now. I think it works out to roughly $40 a year if you want to do the math that way. But it's a fee that you'll have to continue paying, whether you want to do yearly or every 3 years. It has to be paid. So now you're paying to keep your certification. On top of that, you have to continue doing continuing education credits, which means that you have to prove that you're reading books, reading blogs, posting blogs, going to conferences, watching videos about networking or cybersecurity or operations, all with the intent of keeping those certifications. Then you have, for instance, the CISSP, or I believe some of the other ISC certifications. You have to pay a yearly $125. So the downside to that is you have to ask yourself, if I work on getting certifications, how soon do I expect to get a return on that certification? Because it's going to cost you a yearly fee to keep it. Now, I would say you definitely get a certification if you're looking for a new job. If you're looking for a new job, you stand out if you have those certifications. Now, I know that a lot of people will say, well, the certification doesn't mean anything. I know people that have the certification and they don't have experience with XYZ technology. So that also tells us that not only do you need certification, you also need to have experience. And chances are that if you don't have the experience, when they start asking you some of those technical questions in an interview, you're going to get stuck. And it happens. Sometimes it's also better to just to say, I don't know the answer to said question, but based on the fact that I've studied for this certificate, I went over this topic, I somewhat know how I will find the answer, or how I will troubleshoot, or how this certificate is going to help me get to the next level that you're looking for, or for the type of candidate that you're looking for. So keep that in mind. There's also some schools like WGU. If you don't have your degree, if you sign up for WGU, part of the curriculum for the college is to obtain your certificates. And you technically pay your yearly tuition, but it includes the certificates that you have to take for the semester. So you save your money in that area. But really, you really want to consider what the end goal here. If you expect to get a return, how soon do you expect to get a return? If you're okay with paying a yearly fee for your certificates. Also, is your employer paying for the certificates? If they are, I would say why not? You're getting certificates for free. Keep in mind that depending on who you take the certificate with, you may be paying $300, $400, $500, $800, $1,000 per test to try and get a certificate that you may or may not pass. So keep that in mind. But ultimately, I would say get the certificates. If you're okay with paying the yearly fee, get the certificates. If you're applying for jobs, get these certificates. If you're just working on getting the knowledge, because it forces you to study for that certificate, and now you're obtaining the knowledge that's required for said topic. If you're not looking for a job, if you don't really care for the certificate, if your employer is not asking for it, if your employer is not paying you extra for it, don't get the job, don't get the certificate. Maybe all you need is experience, and let's be honest, a lot of the experience comes from working on the job. That's my thought on whether you should get certificates or not.